What was so awesome that happened to me, the blessing that happened to me that like changed everything for me, but I don't talk about it often. I don't talk about it anymore for some reason. Hey, my name's Daniella. Everyone and my friends call me Danny. Born and raised here in South Florida. I'm a Florida girl. I always like to tell people that, I knew I wanted to work with animals from a very, very young age. I lived out by a lake, so, I definitely had ability to like go out and like get animals and bring them back to my house that my parents had no business in wanting me to like play with or have. Anything from ducks and doves to snakes and lizards and fish. I had a lot of tadpoles growing up. I was always out as a kid. I was always out in trees and swimming in the canals, if anything. No one in my family actually worked with animals. I don't have anybody in my family that I can think of that have ever done anything in the animal industry. But it was just something that just came natural. I think a big part of that, just like a lot of people can relate to, if if you love animals too, is watching the stuff that we would see on TV, our idols. Mine was Steve Irwin, just like a lot of you. Steve Irwin was, and still is, and I get very emotional talking about him, he was everything for me. I wanted to be, and just being there watching his show, like you could not take me away from the TV. Like everything about him, everything he embodied is what I wanted to be when I grew up. His passing was very, very hard. I'll never forget where I was the day that I received the information. We were actually on a Disney trip, like as a family. I remember waking up at 5 a.m. and something told me to like turn on the TV as like on the news. And I remember seeing it like on the TV screen and like waking up my parents and being hysterical in the hotel and like just not knowing how to process it. It really, really upset me. And watching the funeral and seeing how Bindi was so brave to get up and talk in front of everybody, about her father's passing, and Terry and holding Robert, like that is stuff that really stayed with me. As I continue to grow up and being here in Florida, I started realizing that I can get in volunteering at different sanctuaries and rescues at about 13. I didn't really need a parent anymore. Started working at Flamingo Gardens. I would do like their juice stands and stuff like that. Wildlife Care Center, just like some local places that, would take me. By high school, my sophomore year of high school, YouTube was there, but we didn't have influencers. We didn't have, the animal people on YouTube doing what they do today. There was no Tiki's Geckos, at least I don't think at that time. This was 2009. I saw a video that the Irwins had put out. This was about 2 years after Steve passed, I believe, and they created a national holiday in Australia. They have Steve Irwin Day now, and obviously it is to, honor all of the amazing work that Steve did. The Irwins were hosting a contest, a nationwide contest. They put out a video saying, hey, we want you guys to send us a video of what you do locally in your community for animals, why you're an animal lover, and what your contribution is. And, we're going to pick our favorite people and you're going to come out and celebrate Steve Irwin Day with us and the family. That just seemed like so out of this world, but I went for it.
Hi, I'm Danny. And I'm Ashlyn. And we're both 16 years old and from South Florida. Good.
Currently, we're juniors at South Plantation High School and are part of the Environmental Magnet Research Program.
Here we learn about wildlife and the environment, and one of our primary focuses here is the Everglades restoration and conservation. And we take our education here and we basically try to educate the community themselves.
We do so by giving tons of tours from students ranging from elementary to actual adults.
When we give tours, it's always so much fun to do. We really enjoy seeing people and kids' faces light up and their smiles when viewing our animals. They ask us all these different questions and are in awe of what we do, and we absolutely love that.
We're also really involved in our animal science program, which we're really passionate and lucky to be experiencing in the first place.
We have all these different animals here, ranging from wildlife to exotic to farm, and even companion and native species of animals that we have this amazing hands-on experience with.
We like to take things up a notch, actually reach out to the community and educate them about the programs that we like to get involved with here.
We've worked with organizations and facilities, some of which include
Wildlife Care Center, Flamingo Gardens. We actually worked with Loggerhead Marine and Wildlife Preserves.
also local animal hospitals and shelters, humane societies.
Beach cleanups.
It's something we're really involved in and love doing, and we just have this total passion for it and really enjoy it.
It's always been a dream of ours to actually visit the Australian Zoo and bring Queensland.
After everything you guys have seen here today, we really hope that you guys choose to swim for this contest. It would be a lifetime dream come true.
And an ultimate experience.
After all, we cock it like a wildlife warrior.
We just, we showed our love and our compassion for these animals. A lot of them were surrendered pets at the time. And we put it all out there. Next thing you know, we're getting a video back from Terry Irwin telling us that we were the contest winners. And I still get emotional. That trip, mind you, we found out like one day, and I think within like a 5-day span, we were in Australia. It happened so fast. And we were 16 years old, so we had to go with our moms. And my mom says, like, she'll never forget the moment that she saw me, like, land in Australia. That was everything. That was such a dream come true. Hold on a second. Australia has always been such a huge dream. Like, growing up, I mean, Florida, anybody here in the States, like, Australia just seems like such a mystical, like, faraway place. Like, you hear it's over 24 hours to like travel to and stuff, but then to actually be there and like be invited there by the family that I absolutely love, like, it was such a surreal experience. And right away from us getting picked up at the airport, we had a chauffeur. They put us up at this beautiful hotel, like on the beach, and everything was just catered to. It was so beautiful. And then we were invited to go to the zoo. We were there for Steve Irwin Day, and the zoo was a complete like uproar. It was amazing. So many people were there, and a lot of publicity and like press people. So there was an opportunity that I saw. We were in the Crocoseum where Steve did all of his performances and stuff, and Terry was talking in the Crocoseum to the crowd of people, just addressing everybody. That was not part of the contest winning, that we would meet the Irwins. Obviously, they're super busy. They have so much going on. But as I'm watching her, I like turned to my mom, like, I'm gonna go meet her. And I just kind of took off in that direction. I just kind of like ran from the crowd, and I knew where the behind the stage part was gonna be. So as she's still on stage, I'm like, if I run fast enough, I'll get to her like as she's coming off or something. And sure enough, I'm back there with all the press and all the, the paparazzi people, like trying to take pictures of them. And she's coming off stage, and it's Terry walking first, and Bindi holding Robert, because he was just a little kid at the time. Bindi's actually the one who like did a double take and like walked backwards towards me in the crowd of like paparazzi. She's like, "You're the contest winner from South Florida." She's like, "I'm so glad you made it." And then Terry walks back over, and she shakes my hand, and she's like, "Thank you for loving opossums." And you can imagine I was on the floor at that moment. It was the quickest 3 to 5 seconds, but they recognized me, they acknowledged me, and that made everything for me. That was insane. My mom then like catches up to me. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "It was worth it." Like, if I would have gotten lost in the crowd, like, it was worth it. It was worth every moment. The remainder of that trip, they gave us these amazing, animal encounters. We were walking Bengal tigers. We got to feed the Asian elephants. We did it all. Like, that entire I think we were there 4 days total. Anything we were doing within the zoo, I was pretty much like this. Like, I was an emotional wreck, but I was just so happy and so overwhelmed with joy of being there, that the people who would like tour us and give us like all, kind of show us around the park, at the end of everything, they like pulled me aside and they're like, "You need to be here more." And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love that." They're like, "Yeah, like you should come back and do the internships with us." And mind you, I'm 16, I'm a sophomore in high school. I was asking every zookeeper I would meet, like, "What do you have? What credentials do you have to like be here? Because I want to be here." A lot of them were telling me that they didn't even go to college. They were here because of passion and, their their want to be there. So it's kind of consuming a lot of that while I was there. And then I have, them offering me an internship during the summers. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So I was telling my mom from a sophomore in high school, I'm like, I'm not going to college. I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna do animal stuff like full time. I'm gonna pursue this. And this is where I want to be. I want to be at the Australia Zoo. I want to be a zookeeper. And of course, that's like every parent's like probably nightmare to hear. They're just like, okay, crazy, sure. Like, we'll see about that. But I was very lucky to have supportive family that I think had my mom not been on that trip, she wouldn't have understood. But the fact that she was able to be there and experience it with me and see really firsthand what it meant to me, like her and my father were nothing but supportive, really. And from when I got back from Australia, I just pursued like working. I would take any job from bussing tables at restaurants to walking dogs to whatever I could do at 16 going on 17 to make money, and I would save every penny I would make. Alongside that, I would continue my animal volunteering stuff, and I was focusing on building an animal resume from volunteer and apprentice work and making my money on the side so that I was able to send myself back to Australia 3 times to do their internships, where I didn't have to ask my parents for a single dime. I made my connections over there that I had somewhere to stay when I would be over there. It was the time of my life. I would just go back and forth. I felt so cool, so fulfilled. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I did that all the way through till the end of high school, until I graduated. Fast forward to, I was invited to go on an animal trip to California through our good friend Lewis, who does Birds and Exotics of the World. And he invited a bunch of different like animal people from the industry. We all kind of did different stuff. You had Felicia, who did tigers. You had Blake's Exotic Ranch, who does everything. I knew everybody else on that trip in that group except for David. I had never heard of Tiki's geckos. I had no idea who this guy was. And the first interaction David and I had was at 5 a.m. We were all meeting at Lewis's house to go to the airport to go to California. We were all getting in Ubers, and I ordered an Uber. And I was just like, yeah, come in my Uber. Like, don't know this person, so I want to get to know him. Invited him in, and I sit in the front seat, and David's in the back seat with like one other person. And at 5 a.m., I just turn like, hey, how are you? My name's Danny. Like, I'm all bubbly and happy. And David's just like, hey, like probably thinking I'm the weirdest person. Like, he's not used to already my personality. He doesn't, if you guys know David at first hand, he's not the most bubbly person. So immediately he's just like, okay, weirdo, whatever you say. That trip too we did some crazy stuff on that trip. We were able to network with the San Diego Zoo, the Safari Park, I think they're called, next to San Diego. We got to meet their zookeepers, go behind the scenes. That's where we got to hold a tuatara, which I had no idea what I was doing or what that was, but David really emphasized the importance and like the craziness of what we were doing. David and I became friends on that trip. It was just a trip that we all had a good time. We were all friends. When we came back, the pandemic hit. I lost all my jobs. Everything kind of just stopped here in Florida for a moment. And I was being told by a lot of our friends that Tiki's Geckos was doing so great and that they were looking to hire somebody. And so I reached out to David on more than one occasion. And I'm like, hey, I think I could be some extra help for you. Like, I think I'd be a great hand in your business, and I want you to hire me for the position that you're hiring for. And I think it was at least 2 times through text message or DMs that he denied me. He said, no, thank you. Like, thank you, but no, thank you kind of response. And I'm like, what the heck? But then I'd see him still post that he was hiring. So I took it very personal. I was like, what is your problem? And then eventually he told me, he's like, I didn't want to hire you to be cleaning cages and like to be getting dirty and stuff. I'm like, you don't know me very well, but that is what I do. I work with animals. I like getting in there. I want to learn. Like, give me a chance. And he did. And I never left, apparently. He liked.
When we first met, I didn't necessarily want to hire her just because the person we needed was more for like cleaning cages and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, a pretty girl, she's not gonna want to get dirty and all that. But she didn't like that so much. She kept like insisting she really needed a job. She was a bartender, and during that time, there was because of COVID and the whole pandemic, she was out of a job, and our business was growing so much that we actually needed more people. I was like, all right, what the heck, let's hire her. She was good at talking to people, so I'm like, honestly, she's a lot better than I am in that department. So I was like, I'd rather have her talk to the customers, and she picked up right away. She understood like how to schedule the shipments and how the system worked very, very quickly. And it was just like, all right, that's perfect. That's gonna be her spot.
He did have me start in the office, although I was begging to like get in with the reptiles because that was what I was more comfortable with. I've never had a desk job.
That level of care, if something happens and something goes wrong, or like there's a delayed shipment, and she's like on it, she's calling UPS, she's tracking it down, she's trying to find out, she's yelling at them, making sure that it's gonna get there that day. That level of care, I didn't have that intensity when we started doing that. So it was perfect for the job.
But I joke and I tell people that I think I was that missing piece that David needed, because I have the Disney voice that David has for a lot of this stuff. But, he needs to be focusing on, creating for YouTube and all the social media stuff that the customer service side of it needed to get that attention as well. Once I really got the hang of it and getting to talk to all of you, I love it. I love what I do now. I love that I am that middle person between you guys wanting an animal and we're getting it to you, but I like to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, that everything with your experience is as smooth and safe as possible, and that everyone's happy at the end of the day. We know our animals are going to good people, and there's no surprises or no confusion or anything. Like, you guys feel really prepared before you even get an animal. And if I'm able to be a part of that experience and help you guys out, like, that makes this job so worth it.
Obviously, like I mentioned, she was a pretty girl, and it started off obviously just as work. Then we started hanging out outside of work a little bit. We got, we started liking each other, and then the rest is history. But yeah.
And that's kind of how I ended up here. And now I work reptiles full time, full circle. I'm here. I'm still doing a lot of my wildlife stuff on the side. I still work at Flamingo Gardens. I do the wildlife shows and presentations there. I help with a lot of wildlife rescues and rehabilitation work and projects. I kind of go wherever I'm needed, and that's how I'm going to continue to be. It says save animals, plain and simple, get straight to the point of what I represent and what I want to do.